Hey guys, welcome to Zomu EDU CompSci, specifically in our Intro to Computer Science series. Today what we're going to be talking about is we're going to talk about displaying words, phrases, and also even numbers in Java. So why is it important to display words, phrases, and numbers in Java? Well, you have to understand, when we're writing code, it's not only for us, it's for other people. It's for users. And we want to be able to communicate with our users. So let's say they did something wrong when they ran the code. Well, we want to make sure that they know there's an error. So we would display an error message. Or maybe we want to tell them how to play a game. Well, how do we communicate with them to tell them how to play a game with our code? Well, we would have to display a certain a certain instruction, a certain set of instructions, so that the users can understand how to play the game. So basically, displaying words in Java is very important because it allows us to communicate with the user that is using our code. So the way that we display words, phrases, sentences in Java is we use something called System.out.print. So I guess the best way to illustrate this concept is to give a hypothetical situation. So let's say that we wrote some code, just so let's say we wrote some code that allows us to divide numbers. So hypothetically, we wrote some code, but I'm not going to write it here right now, but we wrote some code already that allows us to divide numbers. Well, a certain exception when it comes to dividing numbers is that you cannot divide a number by 0, right? So you can't have some number called x divided by 0 because there's no value that can come from that. It simply does not exist. You can't divide a number by 0. And we should all know that. So let's say that we have a user and he's using our code to divide numbers, and he puts in for his numerator, I'll just abbreviate it num, he puts in for his numerator 6, and for his denominator, I'll just call it denom, 0. So let's say he mistakenly just put 6 as his numerator and 0 as his denominator. Well, clearly, code-wise, it's not supposed to run. But if we don't communicate with the user on why there was some sort of error, so why the code just terminated, or why some error was displayed, if the user doesn't know what he did wrong, he can't understand how to utilize the code to the maximum or to its full potential. And that can be a problem. So let's say hypothetically, if a user puts in a numerator of 6 and denominator of 0, we want to display an error message. Well, how would we display an error message informing the user that he gave an invalid fraction? Well, we would do system.out.print, and we would do parentheses. Now, whatever goes inside these parentheses is going to be displayed when we run our code. But we have to make sure that whatever we want to display has to be in quotation marks. So if you see the quotation marks, whatever phrase or sentence you want to be displayed has to be in these quotation marks. And obviously, our displaying knowledge is going to evolve as we go into different types of instances or hypotheticals. Like, let's say we want to put a variable in our display, or let's say we want to put certain decimals in our display. How do we take those into consideration? But this is just a very simple way to display basic sentences. We're going to evolve and get more aware of how to display more complex things later on, but this is just the pure basics. So let's say we wanted to display in our system.out.print that there's an invalid error. Or let's just call it error. And let's tell him that the denom, or the denominator, is 0. Your denom is 0. Okay? So let's run this code. We did system.out.print, error, your denom is 0. So if his denominator is 0, we're going to give him an error statement. So let's run the code. And bravo, here you see it. in highlight right here, error, your denom is 0. So the code won't run, and now the user knows why his code didn't run. So maybe he can rerun the code and make sure that he doesn't make the mistake. Okay, but you know, let's say that we wanted to add more displays, or we wanted to display more sentences. Well, we have to make sure that our code looks pretty at the same time. So let's say that I wanted to put another display, or print some other phrase out. So let's say if this user put his denominator as 0, let's say I wanted to help him out and tell him how to fix it. So I would display saying rerun the code and change your denom to any value other than 0. Okay, let's just say that I said that as my code. Well, let's see how it displays. Okay, so we see that we have both things are displaying. We see that error, your denom is 0, and rerun the code and change your denom to any value other than 0. We see that they're both displaying, but it's very sloppy. There's no space in between, and they shouldn't be on the same line. It would be a lot more aesthetically pleasing if they were on separate lines. So how do we fix this? Well, we just learned System.out.print, but I'm also going to teach you guys another way to make it more aesthetically pleasing, and that's by creating new lines every single time you display something. So the easiest way you can do it is by just doing System.out.println, or line, but ln is an abbreviation. So let's run this code, and I'll explain it afterwards. So awesome, a lot more aesthetically pleasing. So we see error, your denom is 0, and then rerun the code on 2 separate lines. So it's a lot more clear. People can read it and understand it very easily. So what did I do here? What does this print ln mean? Well, anytime you do print ln, you are creating, so after you display, so every time you create a print ln, after you display, you move to the next line. So basically what I mean by saying System.out.println is I will display error, your denom is 0, and then I will move to the second line. So after I'm done displaying this, I will move to the second line because of this ln in our System.out.print. So it moves to a separate line. So let's say that I wanted to do something else. I would put, let's say I want to do System.out.print. I hope you enjoyed, or if I can spell, enjoyed the code. Okay, and my quotation marks, boom. Let's run the code and see what the problem would be. See, we created a new line after error, your denom is 0, because that's what happens. We display, and then we create a new line, but we didn't do that for our second piece of code. So that we displayed, rerun the code and change your denom to any value other than 0, but we didn't create a new line after we displayed that. So that's exactly why these two highlighted displays are together, are side by side. So how would you fix this? Take about 2 seconds and think about it. Well, if you said that you would add line to this piece of the code, you're 100% correct. So let's run it, and now we have them on 3 individual lines. So I hope this gave you a very basic understanding on how to display certain phrases, certain sentences in Java. And it's essential to understand this because it allows you to communicate with your users if certain things are happening. So if there are certain errors that might have to be taken into account for, or if you want to kind of instruct the user to do certain things, you want to be able to communicate with them, and you do this by displaying. So hopefully you guys understand System.out.print and System.out.println and use them correctly so that your code is aesthetically pleasing and it is very communicative with the user. Hope you guys tune in for more, and hope you guys have a great day.